The corruption between the government and the Mexican dealers makes emphasis on the decision-making of the government of Mexico. The government has the power to decide the punishments of the drug dealers, but it seems like they also have the power to let them free, threatening the security of the citizens and favoring themselves. Since we belong to Pop Humanities, this topic is of high importance regarding our study. Considering that some of the main topics that we study in class are politics, human rights, power, among others. So we believe that we can give a more accurate perspective to this topic. We are interested in this dilemma statement because society is not feeling safe in their own country anymore. There are thousands of cases throughout the Mexican Republic that involve thieves, drug trafficking, and kidnapping that makes the society believe that the government needs to make a change. Eventually, if the government does nothing about this situation, the citizens will see the lack of power they have, causing the loss of legitimacy.
The corruption in Mexico and its relationship with drug trafficking, it's an ethical dilemma because it affects the legitimacy that the people have over the government. According to Lion Cell, since the war on drugs started in Mexico in 2012, 33% of the population of Mexico started to believe less in the government. Also, Bunker RJ mentions that under the state officials and families profited from the narcotic trade. This demonstrates that the government is more interested in their benefit rather than the security of its own people.
We are able to follow these cases of corruption in our country since long ago. The recent capture of the son of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was globally heard since he got captured and then released by the authorities because of lack of communication and order between them. This caused a lot of riots and disturbances between the Mexican citizens because it proved once again that the Mexican government has no power over these type of actions and proved the lack of legitimacy that they have. We can follow these cases in a global scale. In the United States, it's very common having organized crimes. It is very common this buying and selling of illegal drugs and weapons. It can be inferred that in the United States they have a lack of control over their mass shootings. Gun violence achieves states that in the last 2 years there have been an approximate of 686 shootings in the United States. Also, one of the biggest problems being drugs, their president blames Mexico because he says that all these drugs come from us and blames Mexico for the lack of control and threatens to have all undocumented people out of their country.
This issue is of great importance because with the time we have been able to realize that the corruption between the government and the drug dealers is evidently increasing. This obviously affects the population, its security, the economy, among other factors. For this reason, it is necessary to stop this. Writing about this may help in order to create awareness among citizens to fight this. If this topic is not talked or written about, this type of corruption will continue to exist in Mexico and the consequences of the government will not be punished and will be still seen as illegitimate practices, continuing to affect the citizens of the country. Considering the disastrous events that have happened recently in Culiacan that affected and threatened the Mexican society and also influenced the trustability towards the government, should the Mexican government establish a relationship with drug dealers? One of the perspectives that can be analyzed that expresses why should the government establish a relationship with drug dealers is that by having this relationship, they will benefit both. Because if the government once have a problem that threatens its own needs, the drug dealers may be able to make something about it. On the other hand, we believe that at a certain point the power that drug dealers have over the government will increase. Through violence, drug dealers will be able to obtain what they want from the government, and the government, without hesitation, will give them to them, generating a change in the power that they had. One of the consequences of this relationship between drug dealers and the government is that the Mexican society will no longer see the government as something legitimate. If the law is not respected by the government, the confidence that the Mexican society has on the government will eventually disappear. Another consequence is that freedom of speech is not respected. This is a human right, and journalists are killed by drug cartels because they don't want their information to be leaked. And the government doesn't punish these acts because it could affect the relationship that they have with drug dealers. Finally, the last consequence is that if nothing is done about this, there will be no progress at all at solving these type of problematics that involve organized crime. Meaning that the current situation will stay just as it is and can become worse, leading Mexico to become a failed state. As a conclusion, the existing relationship between the government and the drug trafficking in Mexico, it is a threat to Mexican society.
It affects the legitimacy that it has over the government and its efficiency to control the problem. This can be concluded since we think that there are infinite events that portray who's the real actor that controls the country and the society.
It is believed that Mexican authorities have placed society after its own necessities, due to the incidents and increasing violence that had affected several times the security of society.
Therefore, citizens have lost all the hope that they once had in the government that make the decisions that are supposed to be the best for the citizens.
This theme is very interesting for us because we live in this society. A society that wants to shout the truths about the country but remains quiet because we're already accustomed to live under the laws of organized crime.